Every evening at exactly 6:45 p.m., an old man would walk to the same quiet corner of Maple Street, sit on a rusted bench, and wait, always looking in the same direction, always holding a faded photograph in his trembling hands. Most people passed by without noticing him, or maybe they noticed but chose not to care. No one ever asked who he was waiting for, or why his eyes looked like they were holding back years of stories he never told. But the night I finally stopped and asked him a simple question, "Sir, who are you waiting for?" was the night everything changed. His voice cracked before he even spoke, like the truth had been locked away for too long. And what he told me wasn't just a memory, it was a promise, a heartbreak, and a miracle all tied together. That night, for the first time in years, he finally shared why he returned to that same bench, why he watched every passing face with hope, and why he believed that some people are worth waiting for even if the world thinks they may never coming back. Every evening at the exact same time, just before the streetlights flickered on, an old man slowly walked toward the small wooden bench near the corner store. His cane tapped gently against the pavement, and his steps were measured, almost rehearsed, as if he'd walked that path 1,000 times before. People noticed him, of course. You couldn't miss the faded brown coat he wore, even in the summer, or the soft, distant smile he offered to anyone who passed. But no one ever stopped to ask who he was, or why he came there every single day. In a town where everyone seemed to rush from one moment to the next, the old man was like a pause button nobody dared to press. Most residents assumed he was simply lonely, maybe waiting for a memory that no longer remembered him back. Some whispered that he'd lost someone years ago. Others believed he was harmless but strange. Children passing by on bicycles slowed down, staring curiously at him while he sat quietly, hands folded, eyes looking down the street as if expecting someone specific. Whoever he waited for never came. But still, every evening, he showed up. Rain, wind, cold, it didn't matter. He always arrived at the same time, sat on the same wooden bench, waited for the street light to glow above him, and left exactly an hour later. Across the street lived a 19-year-old girl named Emily. She saw him almost every day from her bedroom window while doing homework, scrolling on her phone, or simply thinking about life, the future she wanted but wasn't sure how to build. Her family had moved there recently, so she didn't know much about the town or its people, yet something about the old man bothered her. Not in a bad way, more like a gentle ache in her chest. Why did he look like he was holding a story too heavy for one person? And why did nobody ask him anything? One evening, when the sun dipped behind the roofs and turned the sky gold, Emily found herself staring at him longer than usual. His hands trembled slightly as he held a folded piece of paper. He opened it, read it slowly, then tucked it back into his coat. His eyes glistened not with tears, but with something softer, something that looked like hope mixed with heartbreak. It was the first time she realized he wasn't waiting for something, he was waiting for someone. Her mother called her for dinner, but Emily stayed by the window, watching him rise from the bench exactly when the street light hummed to life. He stood for a moment, looking at the street as if wishing someone would turn the corner. No one did. And then he walked away, disappearing into the dimming evening like a shadow fading into darkness. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. Something inside her whispered that the story behind that old man mattered. That maybe asking why was the one thing he'd been silently waiting for all these years. And though she didn't yet know it, the decision she made the next evening to walk across the street and sit beside him would unravel a truth that would change not just his life. The next evening, Mia found herself standing near her window long before the streetlights turned on. She tried not to admit it even to herself, but something about that old man had stayed with her since the moment she walked past him. His stillness, his quiet hope, the soft tremble in his hands as he watched the road, it all echoed inside her. She told herself she was simply curious, maybe even concerned, but the truth was deeper. She felt pulled toward him in a way she couldn't understand. When the familiar golden light of sunset touched the street, Mia stepped outside with hesitant steps. The old man was already there sitting on the same bench, wearing the same sweater despite the evening warmth, and looking down the same road with the same unwavering expectation. Today, though, he looked more tired. His shoulders slumped a little, his breathing slower, as if hope itself had begun to weigh on him. Mia approached quietly and sat down at the far end of the bench. She didn't want to intrude. She just wanted to be present. Maybe presence alone was a kindness. A minute passed, then 2. Then 5. Neither spoke. The silence felt strangely comforting, as if both of them had decided without a word that conversation wasn't necessary yet. Finally, the old man turned his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge her. "You're back," he said softly, not as a question but as a gentle observation. Mia nodded, offering a small smile. "I just wanted some fresh air," he returned the smile, though faintly. "It keeps us alive while we wait." The word wait hung between them like a truth she wasn't supposed to touch. She looked at him carefully. His eyes weren't sad, they were something deeper. Something like longing and loss woven together. She didn't ask anything yet. She didn't want to break whatever fragile space existed here. The old man continued staring at the road, hands folded tightly in his lap. "People think waiting is lonely," he murmured, "but it's not the wait that hurts. It's not knowing if what you're waiting for will ever return." Mia felt a pinch in her chest. She didn't know this man, but something about him, his voice, his patience, the quiet ache beneath his words felt heartbreakingly familiar. She thought about the nights she had waited for closure that never came, the calls that never arrived, the apologies that were never spoken. Waiting, she realized, was something everyone understood in some way. She leaned forward a little. "Has someone been late?" she asked gently, careful not to sound like she was digging. He chuckled, a tired, small sound. "Oh, my dear, you could say that." A soft breeze passed. Leaves danced around them. The sun lowered itself behind the houses, casting a warm orange glow across his face, highlighting wrinkles carved not just by age, but by years of unspoken stories. Mia hesitated before speaking again. "Would it help if I waited with you?" The old man looked at her more fully this time. "Most people don't stop," he said. "They see an old man on a bench and assume he's harmless, but also meaningless. But you stopped." 2 days in a row, Mia lowered her gaze. "Maybe I know what it feels like." He studied her with quiet understanding. "Then perhaps we're both here for a reason," through the early streetlights flickering to life. The world moved, but the bench became its own little island suspended in time. When Mia finally stood to leave, she said softly, "I'll see you tomorrow." He nodded, eyes drifting back to the road. Tomorrow, then, but as she walked away, a single thought haunted her. Who was he waiting for? And why did he seem more fragile every day? For the first time since she had started coming to the park, Emma didn't sit on the bench beside him. She sat closer, so close that when the wind moved, the ends of her hair brushed lightly against his coat sleeve. The old man didn't look at her, but his fingers gently trembled, as if his heart knew something important was about to happen. The park was quieter than usual, the sky fading into an early evening amber, and for a whole minute, neither of them spoke. It wasn't silence, it was a quiet loaded with years of waiting. Emma finally took a breath, steady and soft. "May I ask you something?" she said carefully, as if afraid the wrong tone might shatter him. The old man's shoulders stiffened. Of course, she swallowed. You always wait here. Every evening. Same time. Same bench. Same direction. Who are you waiting for? It was the question he had been preparing to answer for 12 years, and yet it landed with the weight of 1,000 unspoken memories. For a moment, he didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the street ahead, but his expression shifted so slowly Emma almost missed it. A flicker of something fragile. Painful. Precious. My daughter, he whispered. Emma's heartbeat stumbled. She promised she'd return, the old man continued, voice thinning like paper worn over time. It was her last message to me. Papa, I swear I'll be home by evening. He released a shaky breath. And I've been waiting for that evening ever since. Emma felt her chest fold inward. What happened? She asked gently. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he brought out a small silver locket from his coat pocket. The metal was scratched, the chain tangled, but inside was a picture, a young woman with brown hair and a smile that could light a whole room. Emma recognized her immediately. She'd seen the same face on the missing posters that were still stuck on old city poles, faded and peeling. She disappeared in a highway accident, he continued. Car found. Door open. Nobody recovered. His voice cracked just once, but it shattered Emma's heart. I told them she survived, he said. I knew it. A father just knows, his eyes glistened. They all stopped searching. They said I had to accept it. He gave a bitter, broken smile. But I couldn't. I promised her mother I'd bring her back home. Emma had never seen grief so faithful. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was patient, gentle, loyal. A love that refused to die, even if hope had. So you wait here every evening, Emma whispered. He nodded. This was the road she always came down when she walked home. She'd wave from across the street, so alive, so full of future, his lips quivered. I still look for that wave. Emma blinked hard, but a tear freed itself anyway. She quickly brushed it away. What if she can't return? She whispered. What if she isn't able to come back? The old man turned to her for the first time, fully, directly, painfully aware. Then she'll know this, he said, touching the bench with a trembling hand. That her father kept his promise. That he never stopped showing up. He smiled softly, heartbreakingly. And sometimes, child, that's all love is. Showing up. Even when the world tells you there's no point, Emma couldn't speak. The weight of his devotion pressed on her chest in a way she'd never felt before. She reached out and placed her hand over his carefully, gently, like touching a wounded bird. I'm here now, she whispered. So you don't have to wait alone. His eyes filled instantly. For the first time in 12 years, his evening didn't feel empty. The next evening, I reached the park earlier than usual, carrying 2 cups of hot tea this time. The sun had only begun dipping into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold. I felt strangely anxious, almost afraid he wouldn't show up. But a few minutes later, I saw him, the old man walking slowly toward the bench, using his cane to steady each step. He looked tired today, older than before, as if the weight he carried had become heavier overnight. When he finally reached the bench, he smiled faintly, surprised to see me holding out tea for him. You didn't have to, he said softly. I know, I replied, but I wanted to. He accepted it with shaky hands, and for a long moment, we just sat there, watching the world move around us, children playing, dogs barking, people laughing. And then there was him, quiet, still, waiting. Finally, with my heart thumping in my chest, I spoke. "Can I ask you something?" He didn't look at me, he only nodded. "Why do you come here every evening? Who are you waiting for?" He closed his eyes as if the question cut somewhere deep. His breath trembled. And then, slowly, he began to speak, not looking at me, not looking at anything, just staring into memories only he could see. 53 years ago, he said, I met the love of my life in this very park. Her name was Evelyn, and she was sunshine in human form. She used to sit on this bench every evening after work, and I would wait for her just to walk her home. His voice broke, and he wiped his eyes quickly. We promised each other, he continued, that no matter what life brought, good or bad, we would always meet here at sunset. Even if we argued. Even if we grew old. Even if our memories faded, this bench would remain our place. My chest tightened as I whispered what happened to her. He swallowed hard. 3 years ago, she passed away. The words felt like a knife. I know she's gone, he said. I know she's not coming back. But for 60 years, I met her here. And habits of the heart don't die just because people do. Tears slipped down my cheeks before I could stop them. I had no idea love like that still existed. Every evening, I come here and imagine her walking toward me, he said with a weak laugh. Her hair blowing in the wind. Her smile brighter than the sunset. I wait because it's the only time I still feel like she's close. My voice cracked as I whispered, You're not waiting for her to return. You're waiting to remember her. He nodded, eyes glistening. Memories fade slowly, but they fade. And I come here so mine don't. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to comfort someone grieving a love so deep it survived even death. So I simply held his hand. And he didn't pull away. For the first time since meeting him, he looked directly at me, with gratitude, with pain, with a lifetime of love shining through tired eyes. Thank you for asking, he whispered. Nobody ever did. In that moment, I realized something. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can give someone is not help or advice or even company. It's a question. The right question. The one they've been carrying alone for years. And when someone finally asks it, something inside them breathes again. As the sun dipped behind the rooftops and the street slowly dissolved into soft amber light, I stood beside Mr. Hayles' bench, now marked with a small bronze plaque that read, For the ones we wait for, and the ones who finally ask. Even after everything I had learned, even after hearing the truth that had lived inside him for decades, I still found myself replaying his voice, his stories, his small, patient smiles. It struck me how someone can spend a lifetime carrying a silent ache, hoping the world might pause long enough to notice it. And yet, no one ever did, until I did. And if I'm honest, it wasn't because I was wiser or kinder, it was simply because I stopped and looked. Really looked. In the weeks after Mr. Hale was gone, I kept coming back to that bench, almost instinctively. At first, it was painful, the kind of ache that sits right behind the ribs and tightens every time memory brushes against it. But slowly, it became something else, something softer. The bench became a reminder that people carry chapters of their lives that no one reads. And sometimes, all they need is someone willing to turn a page with them. Neighbors who once passed by the old man without noticing him now stopped at the bench. Some left flowers, others left notes. A few simply stood there, silent, as if they finally realized that he wasn't just a background figure in their street, he had been a whole story, waiting to be heard. And it made me think, how many old men do we walk past every day? How many hearts sit quietly on the edge of sidewalks, carrying memories, regrets, hopes, prayers, waiting for someone to ask why? I didn't change his life, he said that himself. You didn't fix anything. You just kept me company while it still hurt. But in truth, he changed mine. Because once you listen to someone's hidden story, you never walk through the world the same way again. Every face becomes a possibility. Every quiet person becomes a question mark. Every lonely figure becomes someone who might be waiting for a word, a glance, a moment, a chance. So if you're watching this right now, maybe this story finds you for a reason. Maybe someone near you has been waiting not for years, not for decades, but just long enough for your kindness to make a difference. Sometimes we don't need to understand someone's pain to ease it. Sometimes sitting beside them is enough. If this story touched your heart even a little, please subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss the next emotional story. And share this video with someone who might need the reminder that no one deserves to wait alone. Thank you for listening. And thank you for asking why today.